Well, Mark, a bit of a change to the format this month. So we're going to look back over a horrendous year for you, for the football club. We should keep in mind that with 65,000 deaths, that football does pale into insignificance. Nevertheless, life goes on. So we are going to attempt to get into the Christmas spirit and take you into the Pompey past, the Pompey present, and the Pompey future. But we hasten to add, we're not casting you as Scrooge.
Oh, thank you. I was going to say, as you was doing the big lead in there, Johnny, it is true. Like you say, it's been a terrible year for me and whatever, but it has been a terrible year for a lot of people, and far worse for many others that have lost, loved ones and people that are still ill now, and families split up over Christmas. So, while it has been terrible in the scheme of things, touch wood, I've escaped from that. So I've been relatively lucky.
Yeah, but we do have to keep in mind that there's more pressing matters than football. Yeah. So let's start in the here and now. Jack, what more proved positive? 2 more seem to have gone down with it. Where are we at this exact moment?
At this exact moment, as you say, Jack was unwell on Friday. He travelled home alone, took the test Saturday morning, was found to be positive. As a result, we then tested 2 other players that were deemed to have come into close contact with him. They were tested negative. But then during Sunday, 2 other players phoned in to Bobby and the doctor and said they weren't feeling well. So as a precaution, we tested them and they came back positive. So as we stand at this moment in time, we do have 3 players that have symptoms that have tested positive, and we're in the process of running tests as I speak now for the whole squad, just to see how bad the situation may or may not be. I mean, it's bad anyway with 3 cases, but hopefully that's the limit, given what I'm seeing and reading in wider society at the moment, and even, friends and family myself, that I just know how bad this is. I very much doubt if it is just the 3, but, fingers crossed that hopefully that is it at the moment.
So it's such a fluid thing, isn't it? It could change tomorrow or Wednesday, and you could have more on your hands.
Yeah, so Jordan Cross from the News rang me Sunday morning and said, look, what's the current situation? So I gave him an update on the situation as it was at that point, where thankfully 2 of the players that had been in close contact with Jack had came back negative, and Jordan, rightly so, gets the story out in the next hour or 2. But in that time, I then receiving another call saying that two players had phoned in and were not feeling well, and we were going to get a test out to them. So it just changes literally via the hour, Johnny. And I think the phrase I've always used since the start of this in March is, the only consistency is the inconsistency. And it's very fast moving. It changes. You can give a statement at 11 o'clock in the morning, and by 12 o'clock noon, it's completely changed.
Ipswich, Sunderland, Peterborough are just 3 of the clubs suffering quite badly. Got a hint of deja vu about it all, isn't it?
It yesterday did feel very much that March moment where it just felt that whatever you do, whatever you say, whatever you try and contain, it just was spiralling out of control, as it was in March. And as you know, it's completely outside of my own personal control or the clubs. It's just something that is out there in wider society. Football is not immune from it. It is an integral part of society, and it's just played out in public, where a lot, if this was similarly happening at, say, I don't know, Tesco's or Sainsbury's or whatever business that might be, it just stays within that business sphere and it doesn't make back page news. Unfortunately, in football, it makes back page news and front page news, because it really is just a microscopic shot of a business being played out in public, but is replicated all over the country at the moment.
If we take you back to January, we knew this was rumbling in the background. Did you foresee that we'd still be talking about it come Christmas time?
No, I mean, I think over the years, it's so many times with SARS and, various other viruses that have taken place in the Far East specifically. You tend to see a lot of it year on year in China, that there's a new variation of some sort of virus going on out there. And it's one of those things that you're watching on Sky, but it's never come to our own shores as such, or seems to have got out of that Far Eastern bubble. But unfortunately, during February, and I know we're going to come on to February, it seemed to get a grip in some parts. I think it was Italy at the start. It really got a hold, and then Spain, and then during March, and as again, I'm sure you're going to talk about, it just seemed to spiral out of control here as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's January. If we look on the pitch, it was all looking so good. It was 8 games, and it was 7 wins and 1 draw. So things on the pitch couldn't have been going better at the time.
No, we bubbled along. We had a poor start last season from memory. We'd had that. It was a weird one because we'd had the year where we lost Ben Thompson, Jack Watmore got injured in the January window, and we were top of the league. We fell away, got beat by Sunderland in the playoffs, then started with a bit of a hangover the following season, as tends to happen. A lot of new players coming in. The squad looked absolutely great, I have to say, on paper. But, the first 2 months of that year didn't start great, and we were playing catch-up. But as you say, going into January 2020, we'd found our feet again, and we were really, really starting to hit the ground running. And, yeah, we put a great run together and got ourselves back into contention.
And February as well, another 8 games, and there were sort of 6 wins with 2 defeats. But things, again, were going along nicely on the pitch. So there was every reason to think it was going to be a great finale.
It was. I remember looking, and I think over a 10-game move-in time frame, we'd remained in the top 3 of current form. And I remember thinking if we can just maintain that till the end of the season, we get promoted automatically. So, yeah, February as well looked great. It was just a case, I thought we'd had a good January window. We'd strengthened in key positions, and I just felt that we were not destined. No one's ever destined to go up, but I did feel that it just felt that we had that momentum and that self-belief that was growing that could get us promoted automatically.
Can you remember when you started thinking this virus is gathering pace? Can you remember the first time you thought we're in trouble here?
It was one of those. I just think people didn't. It was really the Arsenal game when it started to hit home, and I felt, oh my God, this is really now serious. And I can see that football is going to be, well, society football, everything's going to be severely affected here and probably change forever. But no, during February, it looked like it was taking hold, but no one really knew the seriousness of it. And then I think at the end of Feb, there were some great documentaries done on the various news channels where they were going into hospitals, say again, I believe in Italy, and you could see the severity of it and just how bad it was. Because if I remember at that time as well, the Chinese were really not forthcoming in what was going on out there. So no one really knew how bad it was. I dare say if that had have happened in a European country, maybe we would have been on alert a lot more. But we were hearing rumours, obviously, on the news of what was going on in China and how bad it was. But it was that late Feb that I remember watching some stuff on the news channels, the reputable news channels that were going into the hospitals, and you could see just how bad and devastating it was, and the death rates started to climb rapidly because there was always that delay, that 2 to 3 week delay of people catching it and then unfortunately passing away. So as that started to build, and then it was on everyone's radar and it started to become real, but it was all a little bit surreal in a way. And obviously it really hit home when I got the call from the Arsenal chief exec after the Arsenal FA Cup game that Mikel Arteta had tested positive and we should be testing our squad. And we did test the squad and came back, I believe, 5 from that first wave of testing. And I knew at that point that there was really severe issues because Portsmouth's not immune from anything. We're just, as I say, a microcosm of society. And if it's happened in a club like Portsmouth and an area like Portsmouth and the same at other clubs, you just knew how bad this was.
Once we get into March, football's suspended. Our fixture with Accrington Stanley is off. At that moment, do you foresee that football is going to be dormant for so long?
Yeah, my initial thoughts on that weren't. I wasn't thinking that the season was going to end. I was just thinking. I mean, at the time when the first talk of ending the season raised its head, we fought against the season ending, and we wanted to carry on. We believe we should give it as long as possible, but it became clear during April, May that the groundswell of opinion was this was very, very serious. And right, as you said at the very start, there are a lot bigger things in life than football. At the end of the day, it's a business stroke sport. We all love it. To some people, it is their life, it is mine. But it's, as I've consistently said, it's the most important thing of the least most important things in life. Family, your loved ones, everyone around you, people are more important than sport. And obviously that has to take precedent, and football's no different in that regard. We obviously have to fall in line behind that philosophy, which is the right thing to do. And ultimately the decision was taken to end the season, and obviously end it on a points per game, but try and finish it in some way via the playoffs.
I mean, do you think the EFL got it all right?
No, 100% not. But have I got everything right during this period? No, as I defy anyone to say they've got it 100% right during this period, because you make a decision on a set day, given what you know at that particular time. But as I've said, everything changes. I mean, I'm no big Boris Johnson fan, far from it, but yeah, he's in a situation where, as we all are, as individuals, as society, as the government, as CEOs of football clubs, everyone, owners of businesses, it doesn't really matter if you make a decision that way, then this group are not going to be happy, and you make a decision that way and this group are not going to be happy. And I don't think anyone has like a slide rule formula that makes everything they do right. So I don't think anyone's made right decisions in this. All you've done is tried not to make bad decisions.
Did it take a bit too long, though, to bring the season to the conclusion they did?
I don't know, because I genuinely believe, and again, people can disagree with this, I felt that there was an obligation to try to supporters that had got season tickets, that had invested not just financially but emotionally into that particular season with our club, and I say that for every club really and their fan base, that there's that there was no, you don't force people to go to games. People genuinely wanted to see, my understanding was people wanted to see an end to the season, whether that was behind closed doors or not. But even if you remember back, it doesn't seem that long ago, Johnny, where fans were saying, if you can't go to games, what's the point of football? We might as well just finish it. But if we'd have taken that view, and whilst, I say again, emotionally, I'm in that camp, I do think it's important that the sport carries on. Otherwise, there's a concern that if there's no football whatsoever, it could just wither and die.
Pompey weren't exactly the losers, were they? Because what would have been 10 or 11 games turned into a 3-game shortcut. 2 games against Oxford and a possible Wembley appearance.
Yeah, I feel that the only way we were shortchanged was that we potentially would have achieved a top 2 position given our current run of form. So I looked at our running and the way that we were playing, and I think if we'd have kept that momentum going, we would have achieved a top 2 slot. And it's not just me being optimistic, that I think a lot of people felt the same at the time. We were the form team. Everything was looking rosy. So yeah, I think there was as we went into the playoffs, yes, great to have that opportunity. And as you know, we fought hard to be given that opportunity. But a 2-game shootout after, I think at the time might have been 12 weeks of not playing, was always going to be a bit of a lottery.
Yeah, it was all slightly unreal, wasn't it? It was playing before nobody.
Yeah.
At the start of July, which you're not used to. So it was all pretty bizarre conditions you were playing under.
Yeah, and I think people have got more used to playing without supporters now in stadiums. But at that time it was so surreal. There's just nothing. It was just like going to watch training games, really. As I say, I do think that's improved and people have got used to it, but very much like pre-season friendly games.
Other things you had to deal with in those months was players out of contract, players you might want to sign, wage caps, bailouts. So there was a lot on your plate.
Yeah, it's obviously football. We are a football club. That's what we do. That's our product. So that is the most important thing to us as a football club, that we get results on the pitch. But underpinning that, yeah, all of the above, players out of contract. What's the new financial landscape going to look like? You know, suffering huge losses. When a fan's going to come back? What do we do about season tickets? What's our stance on a bailout? How do we cope month to month? You know, without keep going back to Michael and the board, asking for our own bailout from our owners. What's happening with the stadium? Do we get that finished or not? The North Stand, as an example. Staff, their mental health, how are they feeling? There was just so many things to deal with, and to be fair, that's still ongoing now, Johnny.
I mean, you're a pretty upbeat bloke, and you talk about mental health. I mean, there must have been times where you needed picking up yourself.
Yeah, just to be fair, it's like you say, I'm different. I'm quite resilient that way. I've got a great family around me. I don't need a lot of picking up. But like everyone, you have your down days, but you can't afford to. For me, in my position, with so many people reliant, not just at the club, but in regards to the supporters, we have to keep coming out on the front foot. We have to show that public face. The football club means a lot to other people. So, yeah, like everyone, you have your down days, but very few and far between. I think with a lot going on for me, that keeps me high anyway, whatever the situation might be. I think I'd be more down days if I had absolutely nothing to do. I personally, as an, you know, everyone's different, but I thrive on challenges and things going on. So I didn't have too many down days myself, I have to say. But yeah, it is great having that support network around me, both from my own family and what I call the wider expanded family of Michael, of Andy, of Eric, Anders, Breck, you know, Mike, Tony, Anna, and then you go a little bit further with the fans who during that period were absolutely fantastic with me, with the club, with our ownership group. So, and people don't realise just how important that is. And this is exactly the time where we rely on Michael, Andy, Eric, you know, Breck, Anders, our board of directors to be calm, to be considered, think things through logically. And thankfully that's what they did. And now we're in a great position and we sit top of the league. So I don't want to, it's football's, I hate when people go, oh, like, you should have done this, should have done that, or told you I was right, told you I was wrong. We're all Pompey fans. No one's right or wrong. It's just you're entitled to an opinion.
I remember very early on, one of the things you said was, if this carries on, Portsmouth Football Club will be one of the last standing. And that wasn't just your opinion, it was a statement of fact.
Yeah.
You've already said how much we owe the owners. Can you sort of elaborate on that?
Well, you don't. I think Michael would be upset if I used the word that we owe him or owe our board of directors anything, even though well, we do, yeah. But he wouldn't like that to be. He doesn't like that. He bought the football club. He knows what he got himself into. He's very supportive. He never gives up on anything. And Michael and board of directors have supported us totally, without question, all the way through this pandemic. So since March to now, I've never once dreaded a call from Michael. I've never once dreaded calling him to give him bad news. And the same with the board of directors. Any correspondence I've had with him is, Mark, you're doing a great job. You and your team, you just stay calm. You know, we're here to support you. Anything you need, you just call us. And that really has enabled me then to do my job properly and made it a lot easier for me.
That must be a big source of strength for you, because most clubs wouldn't have that.
No, and I think when you've got that pressure from below and above, that's when you start making rash, illogical decisions. And as I say, I've had that support all the way through. Plus the fact, I mean, I've had not just financially, we've had the support of Michael and his knowledge and experience of business. And I keep referring to Andy, Eric, Breck, Anders. They're all successful in their own right as well. These are very, very intelligent, decent, well thought out individuals that I know I can turn to at any time. And I just get the help, support, guidance that I need. And and that is invaluable. You just can't put a price on it. So where you could say, oh, we owe Michael, we don't owe Michael, or I don't owe Michael so much financially, that's money. But where I do owe Michael and I do owe the board of directors is the help, guidance, support, knowledge, experience, all of the above that they've given to me through this. And then I've been able to feed that down through the company.
During the year, we announced a £2 million operating profit. Tony Brown must have been tearing his hair out as it fast disappeared out of view.
Yeah, well, listen, but we always said that was the strength of what we were doing during the years. I mean, that was for the year prior to COVID, obviously, but it did give us that little bit of buffer to weather the first 2 or 3 months of the storm. You know, we had money in the bank, aligned with the money that we've got in the bank, obviously supported by Michael and our board of directors. So again, what that does, it gives you the ability to make calm, rational, sane, well thought out decisions rather than making panic and knee-jerk decisions because you've got no money in the bank. So we've been able to carry on. We've continued to make some very good, decisions during this period that I'm convinced that as we start to come out of this pandemic era, whenever that may be, we're in a far better position than a lot of clubs to exploit that moving forward.
Do you consider it a mini miracle that we've actually got into another season and we're almost halfway through that now?
It's not a mini miracle. It's just, it has happened very quickly. And as we're rapidly approaching the halfway stage of the season, it has literally flown by. But the football family has pulled together. The EFL have been very supportive. So from a cash flow point of view, yes, at this moment, clubs have got through. But a lot of the clubs are accumulating huge amounts of debt, and they've used future revenue sources to keep themselves going during this month. So that's where I think Portsmouth will be strong as we emerge from the pandemic. We can just carry on really as business as usual, where a lot of clubs will be paying debts back for many years to come.
You say emerge from the pandemic. Can you see any light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, you don't like to say, but you do hope the vaccine will be kicking in and having a material effect on the contagion rates and obviously the death rate, which we hope in both cases are brought down significantly when the vaccine is finally rolled out en masse. I think there's 500,000 already been given the vaccine, the first part of it. In the next week or two, people start getting the second part. So hopefully they're immune. They then can't carry the disease. And over the coming weeks and months, we see a gradual decline in the figures. However, just to caveat that, I'm reading and seeing and hearing a lot over the weekend from government ministers trying to temper that by saying that it's probably not going to be until March, April that we do start seeing a decline, and we may have to stay in lockdown for a period of time to get to that before it hopefully finally gets under control.
Spoke about fans. It's been so hard on them because no sooner have they come back than they're locked out again. And even 2000 made such a difference. I'm sure you'll agree.
I do. And that first game was very, very emotional having fans back. Not for me personally, but knowing what it meant to people. And again, unfortunately, during this period, I've had so many emails from people that not COVID related, don't have long to live in a lot of, unfortunately, in a lot of cases, and their wish is to see Pompey again, before they do pass away. And we're trying our best to accommodate that. But unfortunately, even that's dashed. But Johnny, the only reason I've said that is to reiterate what it means to people. The football club, the extended family, what it means to belong to this club. What it means is it really hits home when you start really receiving the communications that I've had. You get them as well, Johnny. I always forward them on to you as well. And we should never take for granted what this club means to people, and just that ability to attend a game of football. It's what people live for. And I get it. I totally get it, because I love football as a sport, and to feel part of that is just something very special.
Do you look back now over the months and think, how the hell did I get through that? Or was it relatively more easier than we would have thought?
It definitely wasn't easy. I'd never say that. But I know I never think, how did we get through it? Because I say again, with Tony, Anna, Marie, you know all the people, yourselves on this, Jack, Ollie, all of us, we have got a great team. I've got a great network around me. I've got a great group of people above me in regards of our board of directors. I've said with their knowledge, experience, their help, support, an ability just to say the right thing at the right time to me. I think they know me better than myself, if I'm being honest. But then I go again further beyond that with the help of the Pompey family, just how great that has been to get us through this period. So, no, I'm not surprised. Whatever throws up at us with Pompey, we'll fight. We'll fight for what we believe is right. We'll always try and do the right thing, although, again, doing the right thing isn't always popular with some people, but that's what we will keep doing. That's what we've done, and we'll keep doing for as long as I'm at this football club.
And on the pitch, we went top of the league on Friday, as you've referenced.
Yeah.
If the season does get to its end, are you more hopeful than you were last?
Again, we're in this situation. I don't want to predict it. I honestly, genuinely believe that if there's no break now through COVID and we play till the end of the season, we are in an amazing position to realise our goal to get back to the Championship. However, I now temper that with what's going on in wider society, and football's not immune to it. So again, what concerns me is if there is a period now of lockdown and unfortunately football gets locked down as a result, and we have that interruption, then everything gets thrown up in the air and it's a start again with a new slate. Could be January, could be February, I don't know. That whatever that date may be, it's just trying to find that rhythm again and quickly. And it's not easy. We're in a great run of form, just felt that we had momentum, and momentum's just that. When you stop it and start again, you haven't got momentum anymore. You have to start again. So everyone's sort of on an equal playing field as such, like that, where you got 6 or 7 clubs at the moment that are not playing well, and you got 6 or 7 clubs that are playing well, and we're one of them. When you start again, form goes out the window, and it's back to two teams trying to establish a run of form and momentum again. And obviously, with the run that we're on, we don't want it to end. But as I keep saying, they're just events outside of our control and are far more important than football at the moment.
You don't quite know what January holds, nor do any of us, but would you be looking to bring in additions, ship players out?
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously a decision for the manager, and we'll support him both with ins and outs. We're top of the league. We don't have to do much. It's for others to make changes to try and catch us, not for us to make changes to try and catch them. And even better than that for us is if you take out the first 4 to 6 weeks of the season, we'd actually be in a far better position than what we are now. So we are on this amazing run. We don't sometimes be careful what you wish for and thinking you can get better in regards to players. We've got a great group of players currently in the squad. I just think it needs a little bit of tinkering, a bit of, is my own personal opinion, by the way. So I'll be guided by Kenny, but a couple of key positions that if we did lose a player, we don't have a natural replacement would be the areas personally I would be looking at. But if you look over the pitch, Brown, Prim, I look at right back Johnson, you got Bolton, Hadji, you got Jack, Sean, then you got Downing, Rasmus. So you can start going all over the pitch where I look and go, yeah, look, if he got injured or suspended, we've got a ready-made replacement. I wouldn't lose any sleep over it. But there are some other positions that I do worry if we get an injury. We haven't got, not that player by name, but that particular position. So I think that's where we're going to be looking. You
do have to enjoy being top of the league while you're there, because the following day we're in a tier that didn't exist at that time, and players have gone down with the virus. So you have to enjoy it, don't you? You do. I think it was this morning I was just thinking, like this week has just been a whirlwind in regards. Was it only a week ago? I think we was in tier 2, and now we're in a tier 4 that I didn't even know existed until a couple of days ago. Even Pompey didn't get relegated that quickly. It is. It's just a crazy situation we live in, and I go
back to what I say, we can do everything that we can to protect our players and follow all the protocols in the world. But ultimately, the players go home. They go home to wives and girlfriends who've got kids. The kids go to school. They go to nurseries. Half of our squad have got kids that go to nursery or school. They're running around with other kids, you know, with teachers. They come home, they bring it home to mum, they bring it home to dad. And the dad is one of our players. They come in. You know, we can do what we can to protect them. But the reality is that you do come into contact. There's no way of stopping it. The only way of stopping it is shutting down football totally, unfortunately. But I don't believe that's the right thing to do. As same with a host of other businesses, you know, we have to go on in some way, shape or form until it gets to a point where it is clearly just too dangerous. And, you know, health, safety, well-being of our players is absolute paramount, as it is of our supporters. Hence why the fact the government are advising that we don't have fans at the moment. We'll follow that. We're not party to what the scientists tell us as the government are. And that applies equally to what the EFL and the government tell us in regards of our players. If they say it's safe to carry on playing, we'll carry on playing. If they say it's not safe to carry on playing, we will stop playing.
Do you see spectators getting back before the end of the season?
Oh, that's a great question. If you go back just 3 weeks, I actually felt that it was easing to the point where it would go from 2 to 4 to 8. And, you know, we could end up the season with maybe 12, 13,000 at Fratton Park. That's what I felt. But then this new strain has just come out of anywhere. It's definitely more contagious. That's what the scientists are telling me. That's what I'm speaking to people and I'm feeling myself. So could I see it? Well, obviously I could see it, but do I think now, given where we are at this current moment and I'm sat here, probably not, Johnny, sadly.
That is sad. Listen, it's the shortest day of the year. It's been one of the longest years, but we're still all here. So let's go on from here.
Yeah, look, as I say, just want to finally wish everyone a happy Christmas. Just have a safe, prosperous new year. Look after your families, you know, follow government guidelines. We will get through this. And as I say, I can guarantee you that Pompey will come out of this much stronger, much more united and ready to go for next year, whatever it throws at us.
Mark, thanks for joining us.
All right. Thank you, Johnny.